Hiring VAs, gosh, most real estate investors that I know, and I'm certainly as guilty, maybe even more so than most, we think we have to do everything. We're the best at everything. No one can do it as well as we can. But there's going to be a point, if you really want to grow your business, that you're absolutely just going to have help with things. And that's what we're talking about today on the Sub2Deals Show. Hey guys, welcome to this episode of the Sub2Deals Show, where we talk about all things subject to. Now, occasionally we will talk about other real estate investing topics, but it's always something to help you with your real estate investing business. If you're listening to this podcast on Apple or any of the other podcast channels out there, we'd like to invite you to check us out on our YouTube channel, where you can see our smiling faces and watch these videos. We release a new video almost every single day, and you can see that at sub2tv.com. And if you're interested in creative real estate, we'd like to invite you to check us out at Sub2 University. We've got coaching, courses, products, everything to teach you how to buy as many houses as you want without banks, financing, or any of that junk. So go over there and check that out. Guys, today we're going to talk about things to make your real estate investing easier. Having some help, getting someone to do all of those things you don't want to do so you can focus on doing the things that make money. And you know what that means. That means talking to sellers. So today we've got an expert in here on VAs. We're going to invite him in. Hey, Bob, how are you?
Very good. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Man, I appreciate you being here. Bob Lachance. Wow, what a biography. I'm going to let you tell everybody about your history as a hockey player. I mean, just a real estate investor, everything. Tell everybody about yourself, Bob, and just welcome to the show.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me again. I started investing back in 2004, so I've been in the game for a long time. Prior to that, I played professional hockey for 8 years. I'm pretty excited because I went to Boston University and they made the Frozen Four for hockey, which I'm going to be going down in Tampa. So I'm pretty excited for that. My college roommate's the head coach. That's pretty cool. But anyway, I started investing back in 2004, real estate. And I did anything from short sales to sub-2 deals to rehabs to, wholesaling, novations, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll get into, obviously, the history in a second. But today we have a company called Perch Rock as well on the real estate side that uses our virtual assistants to drive in leads and do a bunch of other things. And last year we did over 140 transactions. So I'm also in the business as well, not only having a virtual assistant company, but just getting back to 2004. I also helped start a couple different real estate education programs. I'm no longer in the real estate education space anymore. I think 100% everybody should have a coach, should have a mentor, should go through a program. But I started one back in 2006, and then 2007, I helped start one of the biggest ones around called Fortune Builders. I was with them for a long, long time. My job was to run the back end of the coaches and, bring on coaches, create culture, help create the program, etc. So I did that until probably a little bit before about COVID. But 2013, I actually used my first virtual assistant. I mean, I get this question, William. I don't know if you're going to ask this question, but I get this question a lot. Why did you start a virtual assistant company? Right. I'm assuming you're going to ask that question. But I realized actually working with all of the students, which you actually said in your intro, once you start real estate, you don't realize that you have to build a team. You got to work with other individuals to be able to help you scale, to be able to help you be efficient, be able to help you get your time back. Those are the three main things that we see individuals, add team members. So like I said, I tested a virtual assistant back in 2013 when my own real estate business, a light bulb went off. And I said, you know what? There actually could be a business here, because I'm looking at all of our students and looking at, all right, there's got to be a product or a service out there that can help them actually do all the tasks that I gave them as a coach. And then, obviously virtual assistants came up and the light bulb went on. I said, you know what, there could be a little business model here. So tested it for 2 years, released my first company, and then realized it actually worked. And our students were having extremely great success with our services. And then, and more from there.
Right. And like I said in the intro, and I know this so well because I did it for years. I was a one-man show. And when you look at an organizational chart of real estate investing business and you realize all the parts there are, and when you have no partners, no assistants, nobody helping you, you're every piece in that puzzle. So there's going to reach a point where you just can't grow anymore. You can't do any more deals. My wife and I, we run our real estate business, and we have one VA that does a little bit. We're not a huge volume, but I'm telling you, we had 5 deals under contract this month, and it about killed me having to run around and do that stuff. I don't know why we're so hard-headed, and we don't hire people sooner. We hired our first virtual assistant about 2 years ago, and it's made a dramatic change in our business and what we do. So. Virtual assistants, what do you think the best ways that virtual assistants can help real estate investors close more deals?
Yep. It's funny. You can look at it different ways. You have virtual assistants that can do some admin work, just like you talked about, right? You could have virtual assistants to drive in leads, right? Because, I know when I first started real estate, I door knocked for a year straight. So I would door knock from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. every Monday through Friday. And obviously that's time consuming, that beats you up, you get worn out, etc. Now, obviously you can't use a virtual assistant to do that, but today's door knocking is cold calling, is text messaging. That's the difference, right? That's kind of the equivalent of back in the day when we had to go door to door. Internet wasn't like the same. We couldn't pull lists like we could now. We couldn't get data like we could now. So nowadays what we do is we cold call. We do a lot of cold call. We do a lot of text messaging. In our virtual, I'll just give you a little model of how we actually do it in our own office. Sure. We have upfront virtual assistants that cold call. What they'll do is they'll pull a list. There's different data providers. I don't know, what data provider do you use, William, or do you recommend one before I say what we do?
We use PropStream for everything.
So do I. Okay, perfect. Perfect. So I do the same thing. So I pull down a list in PropStream. I get a skip trace through PropStream, which is a tool, and then I upload it into our cold calling or our dialer, and then also our text tool that we use. So we use 2 different ones, obviously the cold calling one and a text tool. So we have our virtual assistant team that cold call. We have also a text team. You can start with one, of course, and they could split those roles. But if I was a solopreneur, what I would do is I would hire one virtual assistant that does texting and calling. Best of both worlds. And then as soon as they get somebody that raises their hand that says, hey, you know what, William? Yes, I would love for, entertain any type of offer. Then what our VA does is sends that to our sales floor. Or if you're a one-man show, they'll send it to you, William, or me to take that lead and turn it into either a subject-to deal or a rehab or a wholesale, whatever your exit strategy is. So that's a little bit what I do and how I use virtual assistants just on the upfront.
Well, you mentioned something, and I want to ask you, as a VA professional in the space, and I know you and I talked earlier, and you said you supply a bunch of VAs for Ron LeGrand. So, gosh, I mean, if that guy's using your VAs, they must be well trained and that sort of thing. So tell me, this is whether it's true or a misconception among investors. If you're hiring VAs for cold calling, does it matter if their English is their first language or not? Do you find that makes a difference with the people?
It's funny. So all my virtual assistants are in the Philippines, and English is one of their primary languages. A lot of people don't know this, but English is a primary language in the Philippines. So, and everywhere you work, so I use VAs. I'm in a lot of different markets. I'm in Arkansas, I'm in Alabama, I'm in Connecticut, I'm in Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and it works for me. So, and we have over 1,000 clients that use our services for different types of work, whether it's admin, social media, property management, bookkeeping, cold calling, prospecting, et cetera, et cetera. So it works for them. I think it would work for, all your listeners as well.
Right. Okay. So that's good to know. next, if I'm an investor and I'm just wanting to dip my toe in maybe trying VAs, seeing if I want to try that out, what are the best tasks for me to use right out of the gate to just start someone on?
Yep. If I'm going to look at, if I'm brand new today, I need leads, right? So I would work on and focus on lead generation, because that right there, and I think it's pretty interesting because we're going into a different kind of market, if you will. And there's a lot of investors drop off, which I think is a positive. It's a positive thing to, when individuals jump in the game right now. It was like back in 2007, 2008, 2009. There's a lot of individuals that started then that made so much money because I think their timing was a lot better than quitting when that happened. So I would spend time on lead generation and also branding. So branding, you need to get your face out there. So maybe do social media posts, edit videos, post them on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, etc. So those were the two things that I would do. And if I was just brand new.
Right. Okay. So if a new investor called up your company and said, I'm looking for a VA to do this or that, you have specifically trained people in those areas, or your VA sort of a one stop? Each of them can do everything.
No, we have trained. So we have a whole training platform that's set up to, anything, like I said, from cold calling to texting to direct mail to inbound calls to taking calls to social media posts, et cetera, et cetera. So we specifically have a 1 month training for different types of tasks. What I wouldn't recommend is having my bookkeeper VA also do cold calls, because those are totally different types of personality traits that you're gonna look for in a virtual assistant. Here's the best way I can explain it. It's kind of like if you hire someone in-house. You're gonna have to make sure that you hire them for whatever tasks you want. One of the things that I've made a mistake when I first had a VA, I'm like, well, they could build a buyer's list, they could cold call, and they could also do my bookkeeping. I made that mistake myself. And then I realized I understood, personality profiling and things like that. We do predictive index for all of our virtual assistants as well.
Right. I'm telling you, that sounds a whole lot easier than going through I'm going to put a post up on Fiverr, or I'm going to put a post up on any of those other companies. And we've all dealt with that stuff. So being able to come to a company that's already pre-screened, trained them for the job they're best suited for, and they're just ready to go, man, that sounds great. All right. So Bob, my next question, because I know this is going to be the next question every investor asks me that watches this. What should we expect to pay? What's it going to cost for a VA? Because they don't look at it as it's not a cost, it's an investment, because they're going to free you up for other things. But in dollars and cents, what do you pay for the average VA?
You have there's a wide range in average VAs, because some companies offer more than others. Like for our company, we offer healthcare to all of our virtual assistants. We offer paid training. We offer, they come in for a yearly event. Into our event last year, we had around 700 of our virtual assistants that flew in and that came into our event. We were giving gift bags and things like that. Pretty cool stuff. We do a lot of charity stuff. But you're ranging anywhere. For us, we charge $10.60. That's the investment per hour. I know companies that charge $15, $16, $17 an hour. I've also heard, we were kind of, looking at that. I've heard other individuals say, well, you can get VAs for $2. I have never in my life found a VA for $2 that would stay in my company and be very good. So one of the things I would definitely be careful about is, it's kind of like, this is the best way I can explain it. My first house that I bought, I did a rehab, and I bought a Home Depot door in the back. I live in Connecticut. So I bought a Home Depot door, and I lost so much money because of efficiency, right? In the wintertime, the wind was blowing through. In the summertime, all the heat was coming in. So my air conditioning cost and my oil bill was extremely high. So just be careful on that side of it. When you do pick it, whether it's our company or another company, just definitely do your due diligence, and you don't always get what you pay for.
Right, for sure. I know I hear that people talking about the $2 VAs or whatever, and I always think, gosh, I can't. Somebody that had to work for $2 an hour, man, and I'm not sure what kind of quality you'd get with that. Obviously, if somebody comes to your company, they're already completely trained.
Yep.
You guys are watching over what's happening there. And also, if I come to you and you put a VA with me, they're my dedicated VA, aren't they? They're going to be used to me and my business and how it works, so they'll know how things go.
Correct. And what you find too is when you're working with different freelance VAs, they're working with other companies as well. So that's a great point on that one, because you want to make sure that your VA is working dedicated, your hours, your time, when they're going to come in. So we do something a little different. We offer full-time and part-time virtual assistants. So either 4 hours a day or 8 hours a day. We also have a manager that oversees the relationship between yourself and the virtual assistant as well. So you give a second layer of management on top of that.
Right. Okay. Well, that's great. Okay. So I'm watching this podcast. I'm listening. I'm thinking, man, I really want to give a VA a try. What are some of the things that I need to do to prepare for having my first VA?
Yeah, and this is a mistake I made. Make sure you know right up front what you wanted your VA to do. Because what I did, I'm like, I already know I got help. I need help. We all get excited. We all get overwhelmed because that's what business is. Sometimes it's overwhelming. We have so many different tasks to do. I recommend make sure you know exactly what task you want to fill. If it's lead generation, then you're either going to pick cold calling, text messaging. If you do direct mail, it's usually inbound as well. You could also do prospecting. We have a lot of real estate agents that use our service that cold call prospects to see if they want to list their property. So I would look at it that way. If subject to, guess what? Same thing. They could scrape leads from Zillow. They could scrape leads from any other for sale by owner sites. Right. Scrape those leads, call them, and whatever your pitch is. I know you guys teach the subject to side of it. So that's what I would recommend on that side of it. But just be very, very crystal clear on what you want. And our team could help with that too by going over, different sets of questions with you.
Right. So if I call your company up and I said, listen, I use these tools in my marketing, your VAs are already trained on all of those different tools. So they come right in knowing what to do and how to use them.
So what I always like to say, the 80-20 rule, right? They are trained on, let's say 80% of them.
Right.
I may have a tool, you may have a tool that they've never used, but we could retrain them on that tool. So it's very, very important to know. Obviously, there's so many different tools. There's different dialers out there. There's different CRMs out there. There's different text messaging tools out there. So we do a lot of them that we train them on, but obviously we can't, unfortunately, fit the whole gamut.
Right. Okay. So I know people can get in touch with you at revaglobal.com. Tell everybody a little bit more about your company, Bob, and what they can expect when they call you up and what you specifically you can provide for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important to know that we're not only a VA provider. I was a real estate investor first, and I'm still a real estate investor. I have a lot of different kind of experience through the whole ups and downs and what works, what doesn't. I really think for us, it's important. I think it's important for anybody who invests in a service that they do their due diligence on the company, like do due diligence on me. See if I'm an investor. See if I'm using my service. I think that's very, very important. We're out there. I do a lot of podcasts. I'm not afraid to, be out there because, we use our VAs for a lot of different things, whether it's, lead generation, whether it's lead manager, we're following up with all the leads in the system, whether it's transaction coordinating, help with dispo. We use our for social media, for podcasts as well. I have a hockey podcast called Pucks to Properties. So I interview ex-athletes, ex-hockey players that actually went from the locker room to obviously real estate, and we use virtual assistants behind the scenes to help us edit podcasts, send them out to different areas. So there's a laundry list of things that you could use virtual assistants for.
Okay, awesome. All right, well, Bob, thanks so much for being here today and sharing with us VAs. Guys, this is super important. It really is. I was a solo operator for years and years. Just a couple of years ago, I got my first VA, and I'll tell you, it's made a big difference in how we run our business. So this is super information, and it sounds like Bob's got a great company that can provide you with trained VAs that can come right in and hit the ground running. So that's fabulous. So thanks so much for sharing that with us.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks. Okay, guys, that is it for this episode of the Sub2Deals Show. If you're looking for training on creative finance, check us out with our $7 coaching. $7 a month. That is as cheap as a latte. I'll answer your questions for you personally, and we'll teach you how to buy a few houses. So remember, get out there, check out REVAGlobal.com, hire you a VA, get out there, talk some sellers, and buy some houses.